Hello, and welcome to this episode from Range Woodworking. Today we'll be turning these 4 pieces of timber into this custom display unit for a full frame of honeycomb. So my friend Mike, an apiarist at Hive and Harvest, got in touch about making these display frames, and I just couldn't resist having a crack. I'll link to Hive and Harvest down below in the description. First I straighten up an edge with the track saw, before heading over to the table saw to tidy up the other edge. This gives me flat edges to resaw this 50mm thick board into more appropriate pieces. Unfortunately, I ran out of saw blade, so I'm going to have to hand saw it. All this activity, it's getting a bit warm around the edges. Whoa, look out. It's like watching The Sims over here.
Thousand years later.
Once this board's split, I go ahead and do all of the usual thicknessing of the pieces. Now, I have a small confession to make. This is actually the 4th... whoa, that was unexpected. Anyway, this is the 4th of these I've made, so this video is a bit disjointed, featuring flashbacks from those previous efforts. I dimension my pieces and then get straight into cutting some tenons for the uprights. I cut these so that the tenons are 12.5mm thick to suit my 1/2-inch compression router bit. I don't have a dado stack, which would probably make this a bit quicker, but you know, what's the rush? I cut the mortises with my router until these tenons are a nice push fit, and then I just tidy it up with some chisel work. Very nice. Now I'm just cutting a groove down the short edge of the lid before using the tape and super glue trick to clamp the lid to my benchtop. Then I can route channels down each side to start clearing out the recess in the lid. Once those channels are done, I clear the majority out with a Forstner bit before taking handfuls of the shavings like a weirdo and putting them in a plastic cup for later on, I guess. This will actually become clear later. Then I tidy it all up with the router again. I strongly recommend safety glasses here, despite me not wearing any, but bits splinter and fly off everywhere, so it's well worth protecting your eyes. Yes, flashback transition and all. Okay, so here I'm making a 5-degree ramp to drill a channel for the stainless steel channel to go in. That'll make more sense later, I think. Okay, back to today. I place one of the side pieces on the ramp and use a 2mm drill bit to bore a V-shaped channel through. Whoa, and another flashback already. Awesome. So after vertically drilling on the drill press, I join the dots drilling through at an angle to try clear out the waste before leaping back to the modern day for a Forstner bit to bore a larger hole for the honey to flow through. I fit a fine-tooth jigsaw blade into my hand jigsaw and clear out the rest of the V-shaped channel. Then using the router again, I clear somewhere for the honeycomb frame to actually sit in and tidy it up with a chisel off camera. The acrylic screens will sit in channels on the sides and in thin rails at the bottom, so I just use a table saw to cut these grooves before embarking on the usual sanding journey. As usual, I sand at 80 and 120 grit before heading over to the router table to chamfer the edges on the base and on the lid. I do this later in the grits so that I don't lose too much definition on the chamfer while sanding. Some nice close-up action, which is a bit underwhelming, if anything. Okay, so now it's time to pop some branding on these. My friends over at Pebbles and Paws cut these custom laser engraved inlays out for me. I'll link to them in the description down below too. I do my usual method with a Forstner bit, glue and shavings in for support, and then clamp it in place. Time for glue up. As usual, I think I have everything handy and ready to go, but end up chasing myself, finding other clamps and things. I use my 90-degree clamp blocks for the uprights, and then tidy up the squeeze out before clamping the pieces down, using the lid to double check the spacing. Now it's time to embark on the utter fiasco of a woodworker tinkering with metalwork. I could only get stainless steel in a flat sheet, so I measure and use this new pneumatic nibbler. Whoa, that was harder to say than I expected.
7 hours later.
Oh, this obviously isn't working. So after some frustrated finger tapping, I went out and got a drill-driven one, which worked a treat with pretty much no burr. Do a quick little tidy up and profiling on the belt sander, and then it's time for the hard bit. I clamp the piece between two blocks, and then with lots of back and forth on the vise, I gently introduce what will become a 90-degree bend to form a channel. I nibble some more metal and then trim it to fit for the bottom drip plate. Naturally, just like every video, here I realise I made a mistake. I forgot to cut a small groove on the other side to retain the channel before gluing it up. So, rather awkwardly, I just measure, mark, and then cut it out with a sharp marking knife. I glue the bottom pieces in using shims and a straight edge to make sure everything lines up. Whoa, that was close. Anyway, I use a straight edge to make sure there's no bowing, and then clamp it down. I superglue the drip plate down and then apply clamps for some reason, even though it's probably already set. Then I just repeat for the other side without trying to hit myself in the face with a clamp this time. Once back out of the clamps, I can take a measurement for the acrylic screens. I buy acrylic in a full 2400 by 1200 sheet, just like plywood. So I initially just break it down using a track saw. Obviously a track saw is not a required tool, but it's really handy to have for sheet goods. I just measure a few times, cut a few times, and then finish it up on the table saw, and then it's time for finishing. I'm using Rubio Monocoat in Pure for this, to really let the Blackwood grain character stand out. I really enjoy using Rubio. It's really simple. You just mix up the two parts in a 3:1 ratio, apply it with a white Scotch-Brite pad and massage it in for about 10 minutes while it binds with the wood fibres. Then you just wipe off the excess until it feels pretty much dry to the touch. So here's how it all comes together. I don't have a full frame of honeycomb, I'm afraid, so you'll just have to use your imagination there. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please consider liking and subscribing. Until next time, take it easy.